Hello there and welcome once again to Red Gaming Tech, another gaming news video with myself, Amata. Today is the 13th of May and I have some news for you today concerning Square Enix, as they have posted a highly disappointing but not as unexpected set of financial results for the fiscal year which ended March 31st, 2013. And this does follow weaker than expected sales of key console games and of course the implementation of extremely costly restructuring plans, and they have posted a annual loss of 13.7 billion yen, which is roughly 88 million pounds or 135 million dollars. So not exactly a small amount of money even for such a monolith as Square Enix, and that is down from the 3.5 billion yen profit which was forecast last October and the 6 billion yen profit which was posted the previous business year. So it's a pretty steep drop, as I'm sure you will agree. Company-wide sales rose 15.7% year-on-year to 148 billion yen, which is 948 million pounds or 1.5 billion dollars. Square's digital entertainment segment, which houses its games business, of course, reported sales of 89 billion yen, which is 569 million pounds or 876 million dollars, up 24.5% year-on-year, but operating income decreased by 99.7% to 44 million yen, which is 281,000 pounds or $434,000. And while it did hail the performance of browser and smartphone content such as Final Fantasy Brigade, and Kakusansei Million Arthur, Square cited the weak performance of core console offerings, and I have a direct quote here. The group's operating income decreased significantly, primarily due to underperformance of major titles for consumer game consoles in North America and Europe. For the current business year, ending on March 31st, 2014, Square has predicted a return to profitability. It has forecast net sales 140 to 150 billion yen, which works out at roughly 896 million pounds or 960 million dollars to 1.4 billion dollars. And net income of 3.5 to 6 billion yen, which is roughly 22 to 38 million pounds or 34 million to 59 million dollars. And of course, as I reported before, the current president Yoichi Wada will resign in June, and his replacement will be Yosuke Matsuda, and he has promised to thoroughly review the company's entire operations. So it's not exactly been a good year for Square, but I don't think anyone is going to be particularly surprised by this. They have said previously that sales of core console games has been much lower than they expected, which is rather interesting to say the least. The biggest titles released by Square this year were of course Tomb Raider, Hitman, Absolution and Sleeping Dogs, all of which fell short of expectations, and the company president Yoichi Wada described them as a weak in terms of sales, and he actually had this to say: financial year 2013 was our first big attempt to release hallmark Western titles such as Hitman and Tomb Raider without releasing a blockbuster title in Japan. We put considerable amount of effort in polishing and perfecting the game content for these titles, receiving extremely high Metacritic scores. However, we were very disappointed to see that the high scores did not translate to actual sales performance. We do not disclose the number of sales units anticipated in our forecast, and although I cannot mention exact unit numbers, I'd like to touch on how we approach these sales figures. Let's talk about Sleeping Dogs. We were looking at selling roughly to 2 to 2.25 million units in the European/North American market, based on game content, genre, and Metacritic scores. In the same way, game quality and Metacritic scores led us to believe that Hitman had the potential to sell 4.5 to 5 million units and 5 to 6 million units for Tomb Raider in Europe and North America and Japanese markets combined. Of course, we want to hedge risk in budgeting these directly into the forecast, therefore we base the forecast on 80 to 90% of the total sales potential of each title. However, it is disappointing that our results fell below these marks. So basically that boils down to, despite good reviews, despite acclaim from a lot of gamers, these games did not sell as well, and I have to question as to why that is. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I mean, Tomb Raider has not had a good run before the recent reboot. The last few games of what I would call questionable quality. And although the reboot was an absolutely amazing game and one that any adventure fan should definitely play, maybe people were just too burned by the Tomb Raider franchise or just too tired of the Tomb Raider franchise to actually give it a shot. And Hitman Absolution, while a good game, was disappointing, I feel, in some ways to hardcore Hitman fans for various reasons that have been discussed at length by pretty much every reviewer ever. And Sleeping Dogs, well, that was a new IP. I hope they don't give up on it though, because I think Sleeping Dogs was actually an excellent sandbox game, and while it had a few wonky ideas and places, it was a very, very good game all round, and I don't want them to shy away from making games like that in the future because, well, it was a very good game, and quite an excellent PC port as well, which is always nice to see, which also you could say for all of the games I just mentioned. Tomb Raider was a very good PC port despite the problems with TressFX on Nvidia cards, and Hitman Absolution was pretty damn good on PC as well. So I really hope that things look up for them. Obviously they are going to be releasing Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn quite soon, and they've got a few big titles on the way, so hopefully things will be looking up for them. It's quite a shame they've taken such a big hit, but hopefully things will be better for them, and the big Final Fantasy titles they've got coming up, which of course Lightning Returns is on the way as well, will do better for them and bring in that much needed blockbuster cash that they're going to need to recover from such a big loss. And just to finish up, I know Yoichi did not give specifics as to how many units they were short of, but Tomb Raider was actually roughly 600,000 units short of its minimum forecast, which is quite a sizable chunk. So fingers crossed that things go well for Square, because I don't think anyone wants to see them go. They've been made a lot of good games, and they still continue to, despite a few slightly dodgy titles here and there. The quality overall of their game is very, very good indeed, and I don't want them to see them disappear into the ether, basically. So hopefully things will be brighter for them in the future. Anyway, it's me done for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.